to silence him. They erased his name. But he rebuilt from nothing. He fought every algorithm. They tried again and failed. Now he's back, stronger. From blackout to spotlight, he's at the White House, at the top of his game. Franchi lives.
You are about to enter another dimension, the dimension of truth, unfiltered and uncensored. Welcome to the Raw Feed with Gary Franchi.
Welcome to the Raw Feed. I'm Gary Franchi, coming to you live from the heart of America. Unfiltered truth to millions on YouTube. Hit those donation links below. Every contribution powers our gear. Every contribution keeps the party going. Help me help you. Hit those donation links. YouTube channel memberships. Special acknowledgement in the fellowship. Your super chats keep me standing. Your Rumble rants fuel every round.
Say hello to super chats.
Spread the intel. Every repost extends our reach.
Super chats fuel this spectacle. Your Rumble rants give me strength.
24/7 members-only community, behind-the-scenes discussions.
Connect with fellow patriots.
My mama always said, life is like sharing the truth. Text this stream to your friends.
What if I told you the app is real? Download the Next News Network app. Android users, take the Google Play path. iPhone users, App Store awaits.
What's up, guys? It's me. It's Gary, your buddy. Yeah, it's the real me. And just want to say hello. Hope you had a wonderful, wonderful holiday. Merry Christmas weekend. Long, extended weekend. And we're back in studio now, getting ready for the new year. Lots of fun things in store. Just getting a text message out to some of our friends and sharing the link, because I hope you're doing the same thing too, because that's how we spread the message of truth, freedom, and liberty here at the Next News Network. Word of mouth, sending a text message, sending a DM, tell your friends. That's right. That's how we do it, because you can't always trust that the algorithm will do the work for you. Yeah, sure. Good luck with that. So, you know, that's how we do it. Word of mouth, friend to friend, person to person, real human interaction. That is what matters. Because when someone gets a text from you, they open it. They trust you. They want to know what you're up to. Why are you watching this? and tell them why. So good evening, America. I'm Gary Franchi. This is the Raw Feed. 36 years ago today, on December 29th, 1989, a playwright and political prisoner named Václav Havel was elected the president of Czechoslovakia. He spent years in communist jails for the crime of telling the truth. The state-run media called him dangerous. The establishment said he was a radical. But Havel and the citizen dissidents who stood with him did something the regime never expected. They exposed the lies. They documented the corruption. They shattered the propaganda machine that had protected the powerful for decades. And when the people finally saw the receipts, the whole rotten system collapsed in weeks. They called it the Velvet Revolution. Well, tonight, you are watching history rhyme. What is exploding across America right now is not a single scandal. It is a cascade of revelations that the establishment cannot contain. And just like in Prague in 1989, it is not the billion-dollar institutions breaking the story. It is ordinary citizens with cameras, with documents, and with courage. In Minnesota, Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller is calling the Somali fraud network the biggest theft of taxpayer money in American history. We've been tracking it here. We're talking about billions siphoned through fake daycare centers that have no children. Oh, but something curious happened after they were exposed. And you're going to see it tonight. Because one independent journalist named Nick Shirley uncovered over $110 million in fraud in a single afternoon. 50 facilities visited, 0 kids. Exposed connections to Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar, and convicted fraudsters. A daycare receiving over $1 million with a phone number that reportedly rang straight into the governor's office. Whistleblowers warned about this 12 years ago. 12 years! The legacy media completely ignored them. And now Congress is demanding answers under oath. But that is only the beginning. President Trump is preparing to file what he calls a gross incompetence lawsuit against the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. The trigger? A projected $4.1 billion renovation project, while Americans were crushed by inflation created by the Fed's own policies. Powell admitted on camera that they flooded the system with money and printed it digitally. Trump says Powell should resign. He says a replacement is coming, and he says he might still just fire him. The untouchable central bank is no longer untouchable. And then there's the war. Ukraine allegedly launched 91 drones at Vladimir Putin's personal residence. Trump's reaction cut through everything. Thank God we did not give Zelensky Tomahawk missiles. He was on the phone with Putin for 2.5 hours. He met with Zelensky at Mar-a-Lago. A peace working group is being formed with Jared Kushner, Marco Rubio, and the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. But Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna is warning that powerful people in Washington do not want peace. They have stock portfolios tied to defense contractors. Endless war is the business model. And if you thought that 2020 was over, think again. President Trump launched a Truth Social marathon, resharing the Fulton County footage of Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. Fraud everywhere. A USPS whistleblower described backdated mail-in ballots in Michigan. A whistleblower claims the FBI asked intelligence agencies to destroy evidence of Chinese election interference. The J6 pipe bomb suspect now confessed, and in just days, the statute of limitations on the J6 committee's actions expires. If accountability does not come now, it never will. You see, this is the moment that the gatekeepers feared. Because the footage is public, the receipts are out. Citizen journalists did what legacy media refused to do. Elon Musk said it plainly. You are the media now. So tonight, we're going to walk through all of it. The Minnesota Heist, the Fed showdown, the peace talks, the 2020 reckoning. We've got the tweets, we've got the sources, and I'm going to give you the unfiltered truth. 36 years after the Velvet Revolution proved that courage and truth can topple empires, the same fight is happening right here, my friends. So stay with me, because the Raw Feed starts now. Let's welcome you to the show. We got Patricia Duff and Kim Weig and Jeremy Olson and T. Duff. Who else is in the house? Dave Wallenberg, Mrs. Pothead Kenny, War Priestess, Karen Finley, John Gardner, Keith Hoversla. Come on, Gary, January 6th can be charged under conspiracy. We're waiting for it. Corey Mays, what's up? Everyone is filing into the show. It's great to have everybody here. I really, truly hope you had a wonderful and blessed Christmas. I know that I did here with our family. Mrs. Potter Kenny's in Kentucky on her phone. Tulip is here, and Robin, and Michael. Everyone is filing in. And, of course, our goal tonight, if you can help us get there, is either a like or a share or a super chat. We'd appreciate it. All right, Brian, let's get into the stories because we got some news to cover tonight because the Minnesota fraud receipts lead right to the state capitol. Okay, one. Right now, as we speak, what may be the biggest theft of taxpayer money in American history is unraveling in Minnesota, and it's far from over. Billions have been stolen, new charges have been filed, and a Homeland Security advisor just went public saying the state government itself may be complicit. Tonight, the investigation is accelerating, the names are surfacing, and the establishment is absolutely in damage control mode because the story is breaking wide open. Now, here's what's at stake right now. Stephen Miller is calling this fraud network the largest heist of taxpayer funds in United States history. He says he believes the state government of Minnesota is 100% complicit. That accusation is coming from inside the national security apparatus. As the story develops, investigators are documenting fake daycare centers, pulling in $2.5 million a year per location with 0 children. 50 facilities checked, morning, afternoon, night, no kids ever. Convicted fraudsters from the Feeding Our Future scheme have direct ties to Governor Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar, Secretary of State Steve Simon, and Senator Tina Smith. One child care center receiving over $1 million had a phone number that reportedly rang directly into, wait for it, the governor's office. And this is just what has been uncovered so far, because more is coming. As we wrap up 2025, it's a good time to slow down and reflect on the year. If there's one thing we've all learned, it's uncertainty isn't temporary. It's the world we live in now. Waiting for normal is not a plan, it's a gamble. And for over a decade, my friends at Noble Gold Investments have helped Americans protect themselves by diversifying with gold and silver. Now, nobody knows what 2026 will bring, but one thing's for sure. In an uncertain world, real wealth is not digital. It's physical, it's lasting, and it's yours. And that's what Noble Gold delivers, peace of mind 1 ounce at a time. Visit nextnewsgold.com, get your free wealth protection kit today. Don't leave your future to chance. And call that number, 877-646-5347, while you can get still these 10 1-ounce silver holiday coins with qualified accounts. 1 ounce silver, man. Silver is skyrocketing. Don't miss out on that opportunity. 10 of them. So the deeper the investigators dig, the worse it gets. Whistleblowers warned Minnesota officials about this 12 years ago. You see, back in 2018, alarms were raised about $100 million in questionable spending. $100 million. Those warnings were buried. Nobody was fired. Nobody was prosecuted. Then COVID hit and the rules were relaxed. Oversight vanished and then the fraud exploded. Right now, new revelations are dropping daily. One facility called Quality Learning Center was investigated more than a dozen times, racked up 95 violations, and still received over $8 million. Someone inside the system protected them, and investigators are working to find out who. But as that domino falls, so does another. Look at what they just found. Michigan's House GOP has uncovered a staggering $5 billion fraud scheme within the state budget by Democrats, which includes the creation, are you ready for this? 4,277 phantom jobs to launder funds and the funding of gender reassignment surgery for prisoners. Buckle up. Listen close.
Be prosecuted for taking money that was appropriated to hire employees and using that money for another purpose entirely.
Gender reassignment surgeries for prisoners. There are programs in there that don't even exist, and they're funding them. Like the Starbase, I mean, that was eliminated a few years ago, and they still fund it. We get rid of the arts and culture grants. They're real waste. I mean, you look at what they are. Glass blowing, barbershop quartets, all kinds of things, really. It's incredible the things they got away with calling it arts and culture grants. See, that's why Winnie Brinks doesn't want to get in the room with me, because I know the budget in and out. I don't know it as well as Ann. So they know if Ann and I get in the room with Sarah Anthony and Winnie Brinks, we're going to get a great deal because we know the budget better than them.
Biggest frauds we've uncovered in Michigan.
So that's Michigan, right? Buckle up. Now, remember that quality leering center in Minneapolis? Well, guess what they're doing? Since they got caught, they are trucking in children after Nick Shirley's viral video. This according to the New York Post. You can see right here the Post is reporting that the parking lot at the infamous Quality Leering Center is now bustling with kids. We never see kids go in there until today. The parking lot is empty all the time, and I was under the impression that the place is permanently closed. That's what a local said. About 20 kids were seen streaming in and out of the center, according to the Post. Check this out. Here's a video directly from the New York Post.
Allegations. Is there fraud going on here? No, it's a video. I just want to know. What's your response?
What's the problem?
Huh?
Get the out of here.
What's your response to the allegations? Is there fraud going on here? And is there children? That's all.
Don't harass me for the here.
Allegations. Is there
So you can see they're not too pleased that people are snooping around with cameras. Now they're cursing at people. 8 hours ago, Tim Walz calls the fraud.
Trying to expose this. You know, you're doing it because you're white supremacists. What is your response to him?
Yeah, Tim wants votes. There are entire apartment complexes where white people have been pushed out of these apartment complexes because Somalians have taken over and they're inside of these towns like Minneapolis where they can go get votes from these people. And if you have 100,000 people that will vote for you because you're going to enable and let this stuff happen and because you're going to call a white person racist for calling out facts, this is what's going to happen to a state like Minnesota. Minnesotans, they say Minnesota nice, but they are very upset. And I fully understand why they're upset because they don't have a governor who's actually working for them. He's actually working against them.
Nick, your video's been viewed 93 million times. What do you think will be the result of this? Do you think that things will change because of bringing attention to this, or do you think it'll be much the same, swept under the rug and keep moving forward?
Yeah, there better be change. People are demanding it. The investigations have been launched just from that video alone. And so there better be change because, like I said, we work way too hard to be paying taxes. We work way too hard to be not knowing where our money's going. And at the end of the day, the people in the government, they work for us. We don't work for them. And so it's their responsibility to hold these people accountable. And so if there's not something that's happened, people are going to be very frustrated. And so if President Trump's watching this, it's time to really get down to nitty gritty and to make a difference in this place of Minnesota that is pretty much like Somaliland right now.
This is what, you know, I'll say this. I'm going to nominate Nick Shirley for the Presidential Medal of Freedom for his work here and the Congressional Medal of Honor. Okay? He deserves it for his work that has completely blown this thing open. We've been covering it for weeks. And then this happens over the weekend. Absolutely explosive investigation. And of course, you got the memes coming in. Oh yeah, look, it's a bunch of frauds. Right there. Here is the Somali daycare fraud from 2018. They have been doing this for years. This is some surveillance video apparently obtained by Fox 9.
Children would show up. Order for the scheme to work, the daycare centers need to sign up low-income families that qualify for child care assistance funding. These surveillance videos are from a case prosecuted by Hennepin County. They show parents checking their kids into a center only to leave with them a few minutes later. Sometimes no children would show up. But either way, the center would bill the state for a full day of childcare. This video from that same case shows a man handing out envelopes of what are believed to be kickback payments to parents who are in on the fraud.
Where was the money going? I don't know exactly where it went, but it...
Order for the scheme to work,
Wow.
the daycare centers...
Parents getting kickbacks for signing up their kids back in 2018. Jack Posobiec, he says, just ask the Minnesota governor candidate, real Mike Lindell, if he's elected, will he shut down the Somali fraud rings? His response, for sure. Walz, Omar, Keith Ellison, all in prison. And I'm taking down the satanic statue at the Capitol. Mike Lindell, private text message exchange that he posted here. Mike, the Somali fraud thing is going really big right now. Can I tell people online that you are elected, you will shut it down? For sure, he says. Jack, he says, it is way worse than anyone is hearing. Nick Shirley found more fraud in Minnesota in a matter of hours than Tim Walz and Keith Ellison have found in 7 years. How is that even possible? Let's check in with Tom Emmer from Minnesota.
Predecessor, Lori, well, it's amazing to me that a 23-year-old journalist, a YouTuber, who's now got over 80 million views on this thing, found more in a matter of hours than Tim Walz and Keith Ellison, our Attorney General, have found in 7 years, Mike. I got to tell you, we've known in Minnesota about the daycare fraud for a decade. Keith Ellison is our current Attorney General. His predecessor, Lori Swanson.
Well, I'm going to just pause right here because he just said we've known for a decade. Well, where have you been, Mr. Emmer? Where have you been for a decade? It takes a YouTuber to go to a daycare center with his cell phone camera for you to go on Fox News? Are you getting kickbacks too? I mean, I have to ask. Yeah, I see you got an R in front of your name, but that's not going to stop people from cashing a check. All right. I appreciate you speaking up about it now and perhaps demanding the accountability it deserves, but at the same time, where were you all these years?
Was actually investigating the daycare fraud and prosecuting back in 2017 and 18. As soon as Ellison was actually investigating the daycare. Keith Ellison is our current Attorney General. His predecessor, Lori Swanson, was actually investigating the daycare fraud and prosecuting back in 2017 and 18.
Okay.
As soon as Ellison became the Attorney General and Walz became the governor, all of that stopped. And now you see the result. Billions of dollars, it has been alleged, that they have fraudulently bilked out of Minnesota. Well, it's amazing to me.
Well, 10 years is a long time to wait to say something. U.S. Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller dropping a bombshell that the Somali ring is the biggest heist of taxpayer money in U.S. history.
Taxpayer dollars found so far. We believe that the Somali fraud operation in Minnesota is the single greatest theft of taxpayer dollars through welfare fraud in American history. We believe that we have only scratched the very top of the surface of how deep this goes. Again, you're familiar with all the scams with pretending that children have autism who are not in fact autistic, with pretending to enroll people in food programs when in fact nobody was ever enrolled, and engaging in massive fraud, lying, and theft and grift on a scale we've never seen before in American history. The total bill, the total tab for this is going to be far beyond the numbers we've already seen reported. We believe the state government is fully complicit in this scheme, and we believe that what we are going to uncover is going to shock the American people. Look, based on the records that we already have, and this is a significant undercount, by the way, 75% of the Somali population in Minnesota is on welfare. But that's likely a significant undercount of just how much of a financial burden the Somali refugee population is imposing on this country.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Oh, we ain't done yet. We're still unpacking this. The man who was in Nick Shirley's video has gone to 50 Somali daycares on his own, not one of his children. They average about $2.5 million a year. He says, I go there in the morning, afternoon, and night, No kids ever. Eric Doherty says, raid them all.
But also insane.
Massive fraud is going on here in the state of Minnesota, especially in Minneapolis. Explain to me what's going on with the daycares.
So one of the things that I've noticed is there's an exceptional number of child care centers that are set up mostly in Minneapolis, but also in St. Paul. And I said, wow, how many kids are there in the Twin Cities? Some of them are by my office, and I would watch, and I said, well, there aren't any kids there. And I'd go to another one, there aren't any kids there, and I'd see just some Somali guys outside smoking cigarettes. So I stopped at one of them, and I said, hey, I'm just wondering, I've got a grandson who's looking for childcare, and I wonder if this might be a good facility. And they said, no, we're all full. And they had the door open, and I looked, and there were no kids. There was like a couch and a table with a couple chairs, and I said, well, are the kids out back playing, or what kind of place is this? And the guy said, you go, and he almost pushed me out the door, and then he followed me down the street to my car, and that's when I said, wait a minute, there's something going on here, and that's got to be maybe 5 years ago. This fraud is so massive. When the dust settles on this, it's going to be found to be the largest fraud in the history of the country and probably the world. It's that big. The ones that I've gotten data on, they average about $2.5 million a year, and a lot of them will say they have anywhere from 80 to 120 children. I've been to literally 40 or 50 of these childcare, and there never has been a single child at any one of them ever. Morning, afternoon, evening. Some of them say they're open till 10 o'clock at night. I go there in the morning, I go there in the afternoon, I go there at 9 o'clock at night. Nobody, there are no kids there ever.
Massive fraud is going on here in the state of Minnesota, especially.
This guy has been on it for years, and nobody has been listening to him. Thank God he has a voice now. And thank God this story is getting the coverage it deserves. Somali illegal Abdul Dahir Ibrahim, who was convicted in the Feeding Our Future Somali fraud scheme with his Democrat friends, Governor Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar, Secretary of State Steve Simon, Minnesota Senator Tina Smith, is one huge Democrat money laundering operation. That's all it is. Just donate, just let the money roll, donate to the campaigns. They keep their mouths shut. They look the other way. This is mafia level stuff, but it's like institutionalized fraud. I mean, it's incomprehensible, really. 48 hours ago, videos of Nick Shirley going absolutely mega viral. Goes to a building that has 14 healthcare companies asking if he can get a rate for coverage. They all kept slamming the door on him and said, one said, I don't know. Another let him have long enough to allow another let him in long enough to allow the police arrive. The evidence is clear. Chicago One Ray says, arrest Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar.
Here in this room. Right here, you have a list of all of the healthcare companies. Loads of them right here. We want healthcare.
No, it's okay.
Yes, we'd like to speak about getting healthcare here.
No.
Why can't I get healthcare here?
No, wait. Just.
Warning, you are under video surveillance. No trespassing, security armed. This is the strangest place I've ever been to get healthcare. Just a bunch of different places. Healthcare here, healthcare right here. Another healthcare company right here. There are 3 healthcare companies inside of this building right here in this room of 7C. Now we have another Helping Hands, Home Care LLC, another healthcare company. Present Help right here. We're looking for the best rates of healthcare here inside this building because we have so many options. Who can we talk about getting the best healthcare?
I don't know.
No?
Sorry.
All right. We will not get any healthcare here. David, this is one of the stranger places I've ever been. Literally, healthcare every door you go to, yet nobody will give you a rate. How much money do you think has been funneled through this building?
Every year, I would say 50 to 60 million at least.
And finally, we were accepted into one of the daycare centers, and they actually took down our information to give us a rate. However, when we left, we were then met with the police.
We received a complaint that gentlemen matching your description were in this building harassing the individuals who stay here.
Oh, we're checking out the rates for healthcare. Because there's 14 healthcare companies inside this building, so.
Okay.
Well, that's not what he
he said there's 14 companies here, and he's trying to assume because they're Somali providers, everyone here is fraudulent.
Okay. So
he's here with some kind of like propaganda.
No, we're just checking.
No, this is a area that we're allowed to enforce trespassing ordinance. Is there any other reason that you guys are here?
Well, we were checking rates.
No, he's not.
We were checking rates. We asked for rates.
No, you're not.
Okay. I'm gonna have, if you guys are all good, we're gonna step outside and we can continue this conversation.
All right, let's leave. So, all right, we're getting escorted out right now. The police have arrived. We were checking out the rates, seeing what was happening inside this building. No one would really speak with us. We did go inside the one daycare center, and she actually did give us rates for childcare. Much respect to that lady. What's the problem, officer?
Well, so again, we've been getting reports from multiple individuals that you guys were harassing individuals who work here. At the end of the day, this is private property, and it's one that people are allowed to ask you to leave, and it's also one the Minneapolis Police Department is allowed to enforce trespassing ordinance at this.
Right here, you have a list of all of...
I'll just call the police on him. Trespassing, harassment. That guy, Nick Shirley, so kind, so passive, just asking questions, and they call that harassment. Can I get a rate for healthcare? You ask that question, and you're considered harassment. Sweet Angel Child Care, which receives $1.26 million in CCAP funding. Their phone number goes directly to the office of Tim Walz.
And so, guys, this is absolutely mind-blowing. So I was watching the most recent video by Nick Shirley exposing these daycare centers. Now, they're going daycare to daycare, and the next one that they go to is called Sweet Angel Child Care. This is where they show up to. And this is the business right here. Sweet Angel Child Care in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, listen to where this phone number goes to when you call this child care center. Just wait for it.
Thank you for contacting the office of Governor Tim Walz and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. Our office is located at 130 State Capitol at 75 Reverend.
Oh my God. I'll do it again. Sweet Angel Child Care. It goes to Governor Tim Walz's office. Why is a child care center directly going to the office of the governor? Make it make sense. Hold on.
Thank you for contacting the office of Governor Tim Walz and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan.
If this is not a direct link to Tim Walz and these fraudulent child care centers, I don't know what else is. Bro, this is crazy. I'm just in shock right now. I was recording a YouTube video and reacting to this video, and I was like, let me call and look up their Google reviews. I was just looking up their Google reviews, and I was like, let me call this number. And I call it, and it goes to Governor Tim Walz's office. Make that make sense.
Oh my goodness, dude. The people are rising up, doing the work, and exposing it all in real freaking time. Elon Musk calls this industrial scale fraud. 24 hours ago, he was quote tweeting Mario Nafal, 18 billion gone. Minnesota social programs looted at industrial scale. More than 6 people have been charged in what's turning out to be one of the most outrageous public fund heists in the United States. Not a handful of bad actors. Industrial scale fraud, said Joe Thompson, first assistant U.S. attorney. Minnesota flagged 14 programs as high risk, costing taxpayers $18 billion since 2018. Feds say half or more of that may have gone straight into scammers' pockets. Who needs organized crime when you've got government handouts with little to no oversight? That's what I just called it. This is mafia level stuff. CBS News is the source on that. Let's check out this one.
Fraud, even by people.
FBI agents carried out boxes of files from Ultimate Home Health Services in Bloomington Thursday morning. The state suspended its license this month after discovering alleged fraud in its Integrated Community Supports Program, or ICS. The door is broken there, and federal prosecutors say Minnesota's entire Medicaid program seems broken.
What we see in Minnesota is not a handful of bad actors committing crimes. It's a staggering industrial scale fraud.
Prosecutors charged 6 people with fraud Thursday, but none yet in ICS. They say Minnesota did a bad job of creating guardrails, so the state became a target for fraud, even by people from out of state. For the first time, they charged 2 men accused of fraud tourism, coming from Philadelphia, setting up shell businesses, then billing Minnesota from back home. In all, the state has declared 14 programs as high risk, and those programs have cost $18 billion since 2018. So how much of that is fraud?
That's the $18 billion question. The answer is far too much.
So far, prosecutors have proved about $350 million in fraud, but they say that's just the tip of the iceberg. First Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson said a significant portion of the $18 billion could be fraudulent.
When I say a significant amount, I'm talking on the order of half or more, but we'll see. When I look at the claims data and the providers, I see more red flags than I see legitimate providers.
Important to note, they say there is no evidence that any of the people they've charged with fraud have been radicalized, and no money has gone to any terrorist organizations. FBI agents carried out boxes of files.
By the way, we just figured out nothing's going to the terrorist organizations. We haven't found the end of that pipeline yet. Oh yeah. Oh, there's more. There's more. Oh, again, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Here's, according to Tim Walz, the fraud in Minnesota was fueled by relaxed rules during COVID. Yet a state whistleblower raised alarms 12 years ago about as much as $100 million in questionable something. Yet nobody was held accountable. Oh, is this an interview with
of fraud. Do you think the worst of the state government fraud cases have been uncovered, or do you have reason to believe there is more to come?
Oh, I think there's more. And look, we've got organized crime ring in Minnesota. I think it's been going on for years.
From feeding our future to autism programs to housing stabilization, Minnesota taxpayers are victims of more than $1 billion of fraud. Do you think there was not enough skepticism for too long in state agencies that were overseeing these programs?
I think it's an unfortunate situation, but yeah, I think you need to be more skeptical now in this world.
It's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate situation. How many? So billions in fraud just go out the door, and it's an unfortunate situation. What's the unfortunate situation here is that you're not in freaking prison, dude. That's the unfortunate situation. The unfortunate situation is maybe we should be looking deeper into your election donations. And all the people donating to you, cross-reference that with all the people who ran these daycare centers. Oh, I bet you that's a wonderful list.
I think the COVID pandemic and the releasing of some of the rules, the relaxing of the rules, fostered this.
On feeding our future, some of it, in retrospect, seems so
See, what you're seeing right there on screen, that is literally Tim Walz shitting his pants. This guy knows that the game is over. So he's using language to downplay the whole situation. Oh, well, there was this happening. It was unfortunate. No. Inside his mind, he knows exactly what was going on. He knows who was involved. He knows where the money was going. And he chose to look the other way. So he knows that he is on the line here. They're already calling for his arrest. Everyone's calling for his arrest. I'm not even going to entertain that guy with any more airtime. Here. Somali fraud exposed in Minnesota. Ron Johnson.
Chairman, well, first of all, we need to put all kinds of pressure on the state agencies to give us their records. Now, I'm chairman of the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. This will be a primary focus of ours. We're already reaching out to Nick Shirley and David and other people who can provide testimony for this, but we also need documents. So, these agency heads who funnel the federal money to the state agencies, they have to demand that the state agencies are transparent. And unfortunately, particularly in Democrat-controlled states, they're not. They're refusing to turn over those records. I've got subpoena power. I will use that subpoena power to obtain these records because we have to get to the bottom of this. Understand, Somalis have just been in this country a few years. They're amateurs when it comes to fleecing the federal government. And let's face it, the federal government is probably the easiest consumer, the easiest payer to fleece, and states do it time and time again. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. Well, first of all, we need to put all kinds of pressure on the state.
The iceberg. Put the pressure on? How about you send in the feds? Let's see here. Dude, there's just so much going on. Why is one man in a sweatshirt doing more to expose fraud than the entire mainstream media combined? In one afternoon, Nick Shirley uncovered $110 million in fraud. And politicians turn a blind eye to this fraud. Americans suffer. People need to be thrown in prison for this.
Y'all, I just got done watching Nick Shirley's video about all that fraud that's going on up there in Minnesota, and I am absolutely disgusted. Why in the heck is one young man in a hoodie doing more to expose fraud than the entire mainstream media combined? The only reason that Democrats feel like they can get away with this is because the mainstream media refuses to report on it. We need accountability, folks, because when we let these criminals steal billions of dollars, they're really stealing right out of the pockets of American citizens who are in need of. There are millions of Americans, including many of our veterans out there, who need these resources. And instead of doing something about it, Democrat leaders, they just turn a blind eye to this fraud. And the thing is, it's taking place right under their own noses. I'm sick and tired of it, folks. And people need to be thrown in prison for this. Y'all, I just got done watching Nick Shirley's video.
Throw them in prison. This is only the tip of the iceberg. It's coming, folks. See, the story is moving very fast. You saw Senator Ron Johnson says this is only the tip of the iceberg. Billions remain unaccounted for. Congressman James Comer says the Oversight Committee is working around the clock and demanding Minnesota officials testify under oath. 6 more people have been charged. Elon Musk summed it up in 2 words: industrial scale fraud. Well, that's 3 words. But the evidence is now emerging that some of these same fraudulent entities funnel money into radical political causes. The investigation is only getting started, and the receipts just keep piling up every single day. So here is why every American needs to pay attention to what's happening right now in Minnesota. While you played by the rules and struggled to afford childcare for your own kids, fake centers with no children were vacuuming up billions of your tax dollars while you filed your taxes honestly. And a protected network of fraudsters allegedly operated with impunity for well over a decade. The whistleblowers tried to stop it, and they were ignored. Investigators flagged violations. The money kept flowing. And now as the story continues to develop, we are supposed to believe this was all just an accident, an unfortunate situation, that nobody in state government noticed billions disappearing into empty buildings. Stephen Miller doesn't even believe it. Congress doesn't believe it. And neither should you. So the story is, it's just not over. It's only accelerating. Do you believe that Tim Walz, a Minnesota official, should face criminal investigation as this continues? Yes or no? Let's have it out in the comments. And visit our merch shop, linked in the description, to support the show. All right. That was wild. I did see some super chats coming through. It's great to see everybody chipping into the show. Let's see where we're at on super chats right now. Chris Orr. Happy New Year, Gary and N3 family. $15. Thank you. And that was 10 from Tom B420. What up? What up? We're at $25 in super chats. Yes, let's keep it going. We are a quarter of the way to our goal. All right, Brian, if you could fix that Zoom, we're going to get to our next topic. And we got to talk about this full-scale information war. We're still talking about Minnesota because this you have the evidence that we presented, and then you have the disinformation campaign on the other side of it. They work hand in hand. It's a full-scale information war because citizen journalists are shattering the media blackout. The establishment's scrambling to contain the damage. One man in a hoodie just did more journalism in a single afternoon than every billion-dollar network combined. His footage has now been viewed over 110 million times. While independent reporters kept digging, the legacy media sat frozen in silence. Tonight, the establishment is scrambling to control a narrative they can no longer contain. See, this is not just about the fraud anymore. This is a full-blown information war, and the old gatekeepers are losing. Now, here's what's really happening. Nick Shirley's viral footage did not just expose fraud. It exposed the total failure of institutional journalism. Lawmakers are now asking the obvious questions. If one guy with a camera can uncover this in a day, where have the state investigators been for 12 years? Where's the local media been? The answer is uncomfortable. They were silent. And that silence is now deafening. Governor Tim Walz's office issued a statement pushing back, claiming he has worked for years to crack down on fraud. But the critics aren't buying it. Meanwhile, an MSNBC analyst called the investigation scapegoating and politicization. 91% of those charged are of Somali descent. That's not targeting, that's just simply following the evidence. You see, the establishment, though, wants you to look the other way. They want you to forget. But 110 million views says America is watching. So as the story breaks in real time, here's the truth. When systems fail and institutions prove corrupt, self-reliance is your only option. My Patriot Supply is running their buy one, gift two Christmas special right now. Buy one emergency food kit, get two free. A 4-week supply for you, plus 2 one-week kits as gifts. When the government fails, your family still needs to eat. So get prepared on your own terms. Head to preparewithgary.com. The holiday deal will not last into the new year. You give New Year's gifts? This could be one of them. Preparewithgary.com. Okay, folks, the dam is breaking, and it's breaking in real time. Ryan, fix the Zoom. ICE agents just made arrests at the largest Somali mall in Minnesota. Federal raids are underway. Something else is happening that should concern everyone. Ilhan Omar's husband, Tim Minette, runs a venture capital firm called Rose Lake Capital. Reports indicate the firm's website just scrubbed the names and biographies of 9 officers and advisors, including several with ties to the Obama administration. The firm allegedly went from $0 to $60 billion in assets in about a year. So why are they scrubbing their site now? What are they hiding? My friends, the story is developing by the hour. Now, legacy media, they have been completely outdone and blindsided and exposed. Legacy media silent, citizen journalists are winning. Real journalism is back. Former high school prank YouTuber Nick Shirley just dropped a masterclass exposing billions in Minnesota Somali welfare fraud, empty daycares. One can't even spell learning, raking in millions while Tim Walz looks away. This is 24 hours ago. Keith Ellison did not rise by accident. His political career was built through an alliance of Islamic organizations, Somali power networks, and far-left revolutionary groups. Many of these groups have been named in terrorism financing investigations or openly aligned with Muslim Brotherhood or Marxist movements. Ellison has openly credited these communities for his electoral victories. He's also spent decades acting as their legal shield, attacking law enforcement, undermining counter-terror scrutiny, and recasting investigations into Islamist activity as Islamophobia. Now Minnesota is ground zero for one of the largest taxpayer fraud scandals in American history, with schemes operating through the same ideological and communal ecosystems that mobilize votes, money, and political pressure. Are you tracking with me here? Are you following the money? That is ideological capture. When power is built on Islamic grievance, politics, and Marxist institutional subversion, fraud is not an aberration, it is a feature. Prosecute the fraud and you indict the coalition. Protect the coalition, you bury the crime. Minnesota didn't lose accountability by accident, it was engineered. Keith Ellison's record: Islamic and communist scandals and alliances. Islamic network protection. CARE has repeatedly defended CARE. Ellison has repeatedly defended CARE, despite it being named an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation Hamas financing trial. Muslim American Society, the MAS, paid for Ellison's Mecca pilgrimage. They've been identified by federal prosecutors as a Muslim Brotherhood front. Opposition to terror designations. Ellison opposed scrutiny and designation of Islamist groups, consistently framing enforcement as discrimination. Holy Land Foundation orbit. Ellison maintained close relations with individuals and organizations tied to the largest terrorism financing case in U.S. history. Communist and revolutionary alliances. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on of the connections. Let's take a look.
Congressman Ellison. Have you seen any evidence of deep penetration by the Muslim Brotherhood into the security apparatus of the United States?
No, it's not true. It doesn't exist. It's a phantom.
Minnesota Congressman Keith Ellison is the perfect example of the Muslim Marxist alliance. In his student radical days, Keith Ellison worked with both pro-Chinese communists and the Nation of Islam. Congressman Ellison has held several fundraisers in the home of Minnesota Communist Party leader Erwin Marquette. He was elected with the help of Communist Party phone bankers. He has also written for the Communist Party website.
Representative Keith Ellison, representative from Minnesota, has very close ties to various known organizations within the Muslim Brotherhood in the United States. For instance, CARE. For instance, the Muslim American Society, or MAS, which a few years ago paid for his Hajj trip, his pilgrimage trip to Mecca.
He is absolutely protecting these organizations. You see him working with ISNA, you see him working with Muslim Public Affairs Council, Muslim American Society, Muslim Student Associations, all Muslim Brotherhood Hamas fronts in the United States, and many others. And you see him not only protecting them, advocating for them through both use of his seat in Congress, as well as pushing for agendas and legislation that would...
So what connection do they have to the fraud? If Ellison is sitting at the top of the pyramid, or close to the top, how much is he complicit in supporting and helping look the other way to fund these organizations? Here's Mike Lindell.
Now, they have infiltrated every single one of these government Medicare or welfare services, and now they even have one where they're giving cars. It's non-medical emergency welfare, where you bring older people to the dentist, say, and they're getting all these cars. There's nobody in them, just like there's no kids in these daycare. And it's coming out today: Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maine. This is opening, I think, states' eyes all around the country. But the New York Post came out the other day, everybody, on December 21st. $9 billion in Minnesota. That's half of the federal money given to Minnesota over the last, I think it's 6 years. And it's more or real close to the whole economy of Somalia. All this money being sent out. They're buying housing around Minneapolis. They're buying these houses. Nobody in them. They're getting paid for that with these high-priced cars out there. Steve, it's absolutely disgusting. And then we have our governor that is just... He's going, we got to get rid of the guns. We got to get rid of the guns. He's totally deflecting. The Minnesota media, everybody, this is what's really disgusting. The media in Minnesota is basically like a big cover-up. It's like you would go there and you would think all is well, all is well. They have infiltrated every single
layer. Minnesota House Speaker Lisa DeMuth calls on Governor Walz to release the records on fraud that his administration is withholding and conduct a full review of all state money sent to NGOs.
Of the House Republicans. Last session, as you remember, House Republicans fought to pass the Office of Inspector General, which was passed with overwhelming support by the Senate. It has support of the House Republican caucus, but was blocked every time by House Democrats. So given the intense interest, we're calling on the Walz administration to take the following steps. We have 6 steps that we would like to see the Walz administration take. The first would be to release the documents related to fraud that have been requested by the media and the Fraud Committee, as well as other legislators. As a point of note, the Star Tribune reported many of the data requests related to potential fraud have not been released by the Walz administration, both to the media or to legislators. Secondly, we would like the Walz administration to release any available records related to inspections of sites identified in the viral video. Third, we would like the Walz administration to redirect available resources to unannounced in-person site visits. Next, we would like the Walz administration to conduct a full review of money directed to NGOs by state agencies. That's as basic as confirming the IRS status, cross-checking for connections or connections to the indicted or suspected fraudsters, and more. Next, we would like the Walz administration to consider stopping payments in the other 13 high-risk programs. And finally, Governor Walz should also ask Attorney General Ellison to withdraw his lawsuit against the feds that is seeking to stop the redetermination process being pushed for by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. It really begs the question of why is Attorney General Ellison filing lawsuits against the feds instead of working with them to root out fraud. Last session, as you remember, House Republicans fought to pass.
Oh, man. Minnesota's licensing lookup page for childcare is down. Uh-oh. Nick Shirley has sparked a movement of fed-up citizens seeking accountability for rampant Somali fraud. Website down. Unprecedented high volume of traffic causing service disruptions. Because everyone's checking on the licenses for these fraudsters. The dam is breaking. It's just been exposed that Minnesota AG Keith Ellison's son has been collecting $110,000 salary and $57,000 in living expenses from the Minnesota City Council while attending Harvard. Man, you can't make this stuff up. This is the craziest thing ever. Tim Walz and local media are being eviscerated after Nick Shirley's Minnesota fraud scandal footage hits 110 million views.
Citizen journalists going door to door in Minnesota to these so-called child care centers saying, hello, are there any children here at all? Can we see one child? And the answer over and over again, there's the video right there, Nick Shirley. And he did yeoman's work here, asking very basic questions. And my question in response to this video, you can see it on X, it's a long expose. If there are any children, they are nowhere to be seen. And if this guy can do this kind of work, where are the state investigators? Where is the local media in Minneapolis or in the state of Minnesota? And it's such a bad look. And for the governor to say, oh, well, we're very strongly looking into this, and I'm going to have an outside auditor. We already know that billions have been stolen, and all he can do is downplay, and occasionally race bait as well. It's all he's got.
Voters don't like.
Citizen journalists going door to door in Minnesota to these so-called child care centers saying, hello, are there any children here at all? Can we see one child?
Local media have been totally silent. It's because they're all part of it. Fake news analyst Mara Gay on the Trump administration investigating Somali fraud in Minnesota. This is what happens when you weaponize and politicize federal agencies. The people are being scapegoated. However, 91% of the fraud perpetrators charged so far are of Somali descent. You see how they're deflecting? This is damage control.
The American people are right. The question is,
why is this a priority in a different kind of way? The politicization of the DOJ and the FBI is undeniable. So whether they are reliable narrators is the big question. And this is what happens when you weaponize and politicize federal agencies that are not meant to be, politicized. And I think the American people are right to ask the question, well, can we trust you? And that's a sad thing to say as an American. Let's recall, too, that there's also other scandals in other states. For example, the Mississippi welfare scandal. And this is not
deflection. Look over here. Look over there. Don't look over here.
Unique to politics. Americans know that. But of course, the other factor here is that because it looks like the Somali population in Minnesota, the Somali immigrant population may have been involved in some way, those people are being scapegoated, and that community is being scapegoated in a way that certainly serves the far right. And so that's also something to keep an eye on, and that's inappropriate. Absolutely.
That's inappropriate. So it's not inappropriate to steal $6 billion? That's not inappropriate? CBS is done. PBS is done. CNN is done. ABC is done. MSNBC is done. 60 Minutes done. New York Times done. Washington Post, Associated Press, thanks to Elon Musk buying X. Independent journalism with a hoodie exposed millions in fraud. I stand with Nick Shirley, and I stand with my nomination for the Presidential Medal of Freedom and the Congressional Medal of Honor for Nick Shirley. Elon Musk, you are the media now. Elon Musk buys X. Citizen journalists such as Nick Shirley cover stories bigger than anything the billion-dollar mainstream media would ever touch. Nick Shirley's Minnesota Somali Quality Leering Center fraud. Front page news everywhere. It's not going away. Senators and congresswomen are now launching major investigations, and Nick says it better results in arrests.
Billion childcare centers in Minneapolis. And the independent journalist who published that video, which now has over 100 million views, tells Fox News the scam is extensive.
I've known about the fraud taking place for a long time. Minnesotans have been telling me for a long time about the Somali fraud that is taking place. And that's just the tip. When people say it's the tip of the iceberg, it really is, because there's billions of fraud inside the state of Minnesota right now.
And Garrett Tenney is covering this story from our Midwest Bureau. Garrett, good morning to you.
Yeah, Bill, good morning. This is just the latest example of the kind of widespread fraud that whistleblowers say has been taking place in Minnesota for years. And elected officials from towns around the state all the way to Capitol Hill are demanding investigations now into child care centers like this one. Quality Learning Center in Minneapolis. You can see this child care center that has received millions of dollars in federal tax money over the past 6 years can't even spell learning right on its sign. And since May 22, this business has been investigated at least 13 times for more than 50 different violations by the Department of Human Services in Minnesota. The business is licensed for 99 kids, but when independent reporter Nick Shirley went by this month, the place appeared completely empty.
There's no one here right now. It's midday on a weekday. And if you were to try to go inside, it's completely closed. There's no windows, no nothing. And like I said, they literally spelt the word wrong on their sign. This is open and blatant fraud taking place here inside of Minnesota.
Shirley went to multiple child care centers and said he found similar setups where businesses that have received piles of taxpayer dollars were either closed or he couldn't see any children present. In response to that video that's now gone viral, Vice President J.D. Vance posted on X, "What's happening in Minnesota is a microcosm of the immigration fraud in our system. Politicians like it because they get power. Welfare cheats like it because they get rich. But it's a zero-sum game, and they are stealing both money and political power from Minnesotans." Senator Ron Johnson says this is now going to be a primary focus for congressional investigators.
These agency heads who funnel the federal money to the state agencies, they have to demand that the state agencies are transparent. And unfortunately, particularly in Democrat-controlled states, they're not. They're refusing to turn over those records. I've got subpoena power. I will use that subpoena power to obtain these records because we have to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is under fire for all of this happening under his watch, but he says he's now taking steps to investigate this fraud further. He claims it's something they've already been looking into and that they are now setting up guardrails to keep it from happening again.
We got guardrails now, guys. Don't you worry about a thing. We got it under control now. Wait, but what about the $6 billion that's missing? Someone care to find it? Yeah, exactly. ICE agents making arrests. The largest Somali mall in Minnesota. Yeah, send them back. If they're not here legally, what are they doing here? Wall Street Apes, the fact that no mainstream media is covering the Minnesota fraud taking place is proof we need to pass the Charlie Kirk Act. Senator Mike Lee introduced the Charlie Kirk Act, which would ban taxpayer-funded government propaganda by restoring the Smith-Mundt Acts. I'm not sure I'm agree with that, personally. Somali fraud ring is infuriating immigrants. Immigrants throwing our generosity back in our faces by stealing from us, but it's also a microcosm of a much bigger scam the Democrats have been running for decades, using mass migration to fleece the American working class and enrich themselves.
Yeah, that refuse. So I'm just going to be real with you. Forgive me, but I just find this story so utterly infuriating. Think of all of the different ways that the American taxpayer was betrayed here by the Democrats who funneled billions of dollars to fake businesses and never once checked up to make sure they were legitimate, by the media that refused to cover it, by the immigrants themselves who were gifted by the generosity of the American people with the greatest privilege on earth, American citizenship, and then turned around and stole from us as thanks. It's so disgusting, but I think this is also a microcosm of a much bigger scam that the Democrats have been running for decades now, to where they welcomed in millions and millions of immigrants, both legal and illegal, who drove down the wages in America, especially for working class Americans, and drove up the cost of things like housing and healthcare and an education, the hallmarks of the American dream, making that totally out of reach for working class Americans. And then if those working class Americans had the temerity to object to their own disinheritance, rich Democrats would go on cable news and call them racists. It's so disgusting. The whole woke vocabulary was developed as a smokescreen for the mass fleecing of the American working class. And I think that is just a mirror image for what we're seeing with this Somali fraud and why people are so enraged about it, because they've been noticing this for so long and they were silenced if they called it out, and no more. I think that's what we're seeing right now in this moment. So I'm just going to be real with you. Forgive me, but I just find...
Dude, like I said before, we've been covering this for weeks, but, you know, we knew that billions were missing, but the fact that we have Nick Shirley on the ground presenting this information, and now we can see it with our own eyes, puts it in a different perspective. And then when you add in the media cover-up, that's where the problem begins, when the talking heads go on camera and tell you to look the other way, look over here, it's racism, whatever. Here's Nick Shirley on the Sunday show on Fox.
Responsibility to hold these.
Nick, your video's been viewed 93 million times. What do you think will be the result of this? Do you think that things will change because of bringing attention to this, or do you think it'll be much the same, swept under the rug and keep moving forward?
Yeah, there better be change. People are demanding it. The investigations have been launched just from that video alone. And so there better be change because, like I said, we work way too hard to be paying taxes. We work way too hard to be not knowing where our money's going. And at the end of the day, the people in the government, they work for us. We don't work for them. And so it's their responsibility to hold these people accountable. And so if there's not something that's happened, people are going to be very frustrated. And so if President Trump's watching this, it's time to really get down to nitty gritty and to make a difference in this place of Minnesota that is pretty much like Somaliland right now.
Nick, your video.
This is the tip of the iceberg, folks. It's only gonna spiral. Wall Street Apes 24 hours ago. This is why no NGO money launderers ever go to jail. Elon Musk confirms the taxpayer money politicians and bureaucrats are sending to fake NGOs are being used to purchase themselves mansions and private jets. Listen.
No, the government can give money to a so-called nonprofit with very few controls, and then there's no auditing subsequently of that nonprofit. So there's no. So this is where with the 1.9 billion to Stacey Abrams, they then give themselves extremely lavish, like insane salaries, expense everything to the nonprofit. Buy jets and homes and all sorts of things.
Live like kings and queens.
Yes.
On the taxpayer dime.
Correct.
You mentioned...
And this is happening at scale. It's not just one or two. We're seeing this everywhere.
Now,
the government can give money to...
Elon Musk put it plainly. You're the media now. And he's right. The networks with billion-dollar budgets failed to ask a basic question. A citizen journalist did the work that they refused to do. Mike Lindell says these fraudsters have infiltrated every government welfare service available. Tom Homan reportedly has the best fraud investigator looking into Ilhan Omar personally. And that report could drop any day now. The old information order is collapsing, and no amount of spin can put it back together. So here's the real story behind the story. It's not just about stolen money. This is about who gets to control what you know. For years, legacy media decided which stories mattered and which ones disappeared. They protected the powerful and they buried the inconvenient. But something has changed. Platforms have opened up. Citizens grabbed their cameras and the gatekeepers lost their grip. 110 million people watched footage the networks refused to air. Senators launching investigations because of a man in a sweatshirt, not a newsroom. The establishment's panicking because they cannot memory hold this one. The receipts are public, the footage is everywhere, the American people are demanding answers. So I'll ask you this, do you believe legacy media deliberately ignored the Minnesota fraud story to protect political allies? Yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments. If you want to support our independent journalism that actually does the job, check out our merch shop, linked in the description. What's up, Mike? Dropping a couple bucks here and there. Gary and his voice are not replaceable. Not N3 without it. And he comes back again. Even subs when you are gone show your reporting is unmatched. Say no to new shorts, Gary, or bust. Are you talking about my my virtual anchors that I've hired? Well, let's just say that those are ways that I can continue dropping and breaking news when I am not able to get in the studio with expediency. Let's just put it that way. And I've been working very hard on the project in the background for weeks and weeks and weeks and developing it. And I think I've got it to a place where it's pretty good. A little tweaking here and there. But nonetheless, the way I've built my systems will allow me to create this content to break the news as it happens faster than ever it would take to get me to sit in this chair. Let me just put it that way, okay? So, you probably saw some of those reports I was publishing over the weekend. Let's see, what are you guys saying about that? I don't know. Keep up the good work. Cover the cleavage. Yeah, I try to adjust the prompts so that they are a little less obnoxious, but sometimes you just don't know what you're going to get. All right, enough of that. We're going to talk about something else that's equally explosive. Brian, are you there? Okay. The most powerful unelected official in America may be about to face something he never expected: accountability. President Trump just announced that he's preparing a lawsuit against the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell for gross incompetence. Not resignation, not replacement, legal action. The man who admitted on camera that the Fed flooded the system with digitally printed money is now in the crosshairs, and the financial establishment is bracing for impact. So here is what is at stake. For decades, the Federal Reserve has operated as an untouchable institution. They set the interest rates, they control the money supply, they decide the winners and the losers in the economy. And they answer to no one. Not voters, not Congress, not courts. Well, that may be about to change. Trump is calling out Powell for keeping rates artificially high, while the Fed allegedly planned to spend $4.1 billion on building renovations. Let that sink in. Americans were crushed by inflation, savings were destroyed, housing became unaffordable, and the Fed was budgeting billions for a construction project. Powell himself admitted that they print the money digitally, they flood the system, they create the crisis, and now Trump says there must be consequences. As we wrap up 2025, it is a good time to slow down and reflect on the year. If there is one thing we've all learned, uncertainty isn't temporary. It is the world we live in now. And waiting for normal is not a plan. It is a gamble. For over a decade, my friends at Noble Gold Investments, they have helped Americans protect themselves by diversifying with gold and silver. You see, nobody knows what 2026 will bring, but one thing's for sure. In an uncertain world, real wealth is not digital, it's physical, it's lasting, and it is yours. And that is what Noble Gold delivers: peace of mind, 1 ounce at a time. Visit nextnewsgold.com, get your free wealth protection kit today, and don't leave your future to chance. The number on the screen, write it down. Give them a call, 847-646-5347. You've only got a couple more days where you can still get 10 of these beauties. 10 ounces of silver, and silver is skyrocketing right now. Qualified accounts, call that number and find out if you do qualify. Now, Trump isn't holding back. He called Powell a fool. He said Powell suffers from Trump derangement syndrome. He said Powell should resign and would be doing the nation a favor. He then went further. Trump said he would love to fire Powell. And he added these words: maybe I still might. You know, a replacement is already being prepared. The announcement could come next month. Markets reacting immediately. Crypto surging. Investors see the writing on the wall. You see, the Fed's grip on the economy may finally be loosening, and Powell knows this. Check this out. Trump has reiterated his intention to sue the Federal Reserve chairman, citing what he calls gross incompetence in managing the renovation of the Fed's Washington headquarters. All the Federal Reserve's 2025 interest rate decisions in 60 seconds.
The public and private committee decided to maintain the target range for the federal funds rate at 4.25% to 4.5%. The economy is strong overall and has made significant progress toward our goals over the past 2 years. The Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. The Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. The Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. The Federal
What you're seeing here is criminal. A private bank controlling the nation's economy. Private bankers controlling our entire nation's economy, printing the money and loaning it back to the federal government at interest, when we have the power to print it ourselves. See, that's the crux of the problem. On Jekyll Island, they devised this plan to outsource the printing of our money, to snatch it away from the power of the people in the federal government, us, who granted the federal government that authority. And then they passed the Federal Reserve Act in 1913, and everything changed. That power was handed over to the private institution known as the Federal Reserve. And here you have him, Jerome Powell, month after month. No, we're not changing the rates. No, we're not changing the rates. And what happens when they move a point, they move half a point? Everything changes. The markets react. Housing markets, rental markets, everything changes. Everything reacts when this freaking guy opens his mouth. And he's the head of a private bank. I mean, you guys aren't stupid. You watch this channel. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I'm getting at. That's why we must end the Fed once and for all. And to see that President Trump is working to hold these guys accountable makes me happier than I could ever be. I used to march in the streets screaming, "End the Fed," organizing rallies at every single Federal Reserve branch in the United States, nationwide. Tens of thousands of us marched on every single Federal Reserve branch in the United States in the End the Fed movement. Look it up. There's videos of me standing outside the Federal Reserve giving speeches. We've been working at this forever, and to see that President Trump understands this, I'm going to hold these people accountable. And he's using a tool which is quite interesting, because what Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve did is they basically tipped their hand by getting overzealous and having this massive renovation. They revealed the weakest link. A $4.1 billion renovation that has gone way over budget. But these are the guys that print the actual money. No one's holding them accountable. There's no oversight for a project like that. There's no oversight. Who is the oversight for the Federal Reserve when they do a renovation? Nobody. That's why they can spend $4.1 billion on it. Because in the back rooms, they got the money machines printing it out. And every dollar they print adds to the inflation in the inflation problem in this country. And they don't give a shit. They don't care about you. This guy does have Trump derangement syndrome. And you know why? Because he wants to see this nation burn. He wants to see the Trump economy suffer. He wants to see you suffer. Because if you are successful and Trump is successful, they lose their grip on power. So they want people in a constant state of dependency. That's how the system operates. And the more that he can keep you dependent, the more he can stay in control. But Donald Trump discovered the silver bullet. With the renovation project, they thought that nobody would look. Well, guess what? There's a new sheriff in town. His name's Donald J. Trump, and he decided to look under the tent. And what did he find? Massive fraud and waste by the guys who are printing the money. So, as an entity within the federal government, he can sue. He can file suit against that group, against the Federal Reserve. I'm not sure exactly what the terms are. We'll find out. But that's where we are at right now, my friends. Gross incompetence. Major lawsuit, gross incompetence. The stage is being set. President Trump found a way to wedge himself, the executive branch, in between the Treasury and the Federal Reserve by using the leverage of this mismanaged, insane, building of this tomb, this expansion of this tomb to monetary policy, using gross incompetence. There's no other way you could describe it, really. You really can't. Do you remember back in July when Trump decided to show up and check in on them? This was a moment in history that I'll never forget. President Trump going in, Jerome Powell shitting his pants right there. I'm sorry, his depends.
So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1.
3.2.
This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added
our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no, but it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use, but no, we don't.
Again, we have a reserve. Do you guys recognize the magnitude of this scene right here? Do you recognize what you're witnessing? That's the President of the United States of America standing next to the Federal Reserve chair. And he's grilling the Federal Reserve chair over the cost overruns on their renovation project. The Federal Reserve chair is like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. No, we did that 5 years ago. What? Those numbers I'm not aware of. We have a reserve. Don't worry. We'll figure it out. The Federal Reserve is, basically contracted to print our money. So I think Trump needs to sever the contract and give that power right back to the Treasury. There's no need for the Federal Reserve to stand in the way. It's a middleman. Private bankers. President Trump just walked in their freaking door and he pulled the curtain back, exposed them all, and now the lawsuit is on its way. Here we go. This is November 11th. You simply flood the system with money. Yes, we did. Where does it come from? We just print it digitally.
It come from? You simply flooded the system with money?
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally. So we as a central bank, we have the ability to create money digitally, and we do that by buying treasury bills or bonds or other government guaranteed securities, and that actually increases the money supply. We also print actual currency, and we distribute that through the Federal Reserve banks.
You simply flooded the system with money.
Just flood the system with money. President Trump scorching Jerome Tule Powell.
He's got some down now. Mortgage rates are down despite the Fed. Scott, you got to work on this guy. He's got some real mental problems. No, there's something wrong with him. It's just sweet. I'd be honest. I'd love to fire his ass. He should be fired. Guy's grossly incompetent, and he should be sued for spending $4 billion to build a little building. I'm building a ballroom that's going to cost a tiny fraction of that, and it's bigger than the whole thing put together. You got to work on him, Scott. The only thing Scott's blowing it on is the Fed. Because the Fed, the rates are too high, Scott. And if you don't get it fixed fast, I'm going to fire your ass, okay? I can't tell you, Scott, sir, don't fire him. Sir, please don't fire him. He's got 3 months to go. Don't fire him. I want to get him out, Scott. Please. He's the voice of reason. You're very lucky you have him, I'll tell you that. Done a good job. I think Howard's a little bit more for firing him. Right, Howard? I think Howard would say, get him the hell out of there. Anyway, down now. Mortgage rates are down despite the Fed. Scott, you got to work on this guy. He's got some...
Yeah, work on him. Just get the lawsuit filed. President Trump ripping Jerome Powell for keeping interest rates too high, calls him incompetent.
Despite him, I'll be picking a new head of the Fed soon. Our Fed person is absolutely, despite him, we have numbers that really nobody's ever seen, Vince, right? Despite him, we have numbers that nobody's ever seen before. We're fighting through him. And we'll soon have a good head of the Fed who's going to want to see interest rates go down. But we're fighting through higher interest rates. But the interest rates are coming down despite him. He's an incompetent person who suffers from Trump derangement syndrome, okay? It's one of those little problems. We have many of them. But we're fighting through that stuff.
and I've said this before, when the interest rates are finally where they should be, President Trump installs a new Fed chair, then we'll have an economy that is going to be on fire. But my position is still just get the Fed out of the way. End it. President Trump says the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is a fool. His replacement is on the way. Bullish for crypto, XRP. 5 hours ago, Trump said a lawsuit against Jerome Powell may be coming. Here we go. 5 hours ago.
You've said so one of the big domestic tasks ahead of you is to pick a new chairman for the Fed.
Yeah.
You've said that you have one favorite, but you're also doing interviews.
Still do. Hasn't changed. Yeah, I'll announce them at the right time. There's plenty of time.
Are you?
But in the meantime, we're doing numbers that nobody's ever seen. We have $18 trillion coming in. We had a 4.3% GDP. They thought it was going to be 2%. And that's despite the Democrat shutdown. Had the shutdown not occurred, we would have had an extra 1.25. Think of that. We are doing, and also despite the fact that we have a fool at the Federal Reserve. I mean, Biden reappointed him, and it's too bad. You would have thought he wouldn't have done that. But he's an absolute fool who's building a new Federal Reserve, or he's doing a renovation of a building. Maybe he's up to $4.1 billion to do a renovation of a few very small buildings. It's the highest price in the history of construction. He's spending more money than any building has ever spent per square foot on the renovation of, as an example, I'm doing a magnificent, big, beautiful ballroom that the country has wanted, the White House has wanted for 150 years. It's a massive job, and it's a tiny fraction of that number. And we're under budget and ahead of schedule. Now, it's bigger than I told you. After realizing we're going to do the inauguration in that building, it's got all bulletproof glass. It's got all drone, they call it drone-free roof. So drones won't touch it. It's a big, beautiful, safe building. But it's a big project. For a tiny fraction of that, we're under budget and ahead of schedule. And they've wanted it for 150 years. Think of it, the Federal Reserve building, 2 buildings there, they don't know what they're doing. They're way over budget. I mean, this was built during the Biden administration. And I rode by it the other day, and it's headed by the head of the Federal Reserve. Too late, too late, Powell. Too late because he's always too late with interest rates, except before the election. He was too early because that would have helped. That was supposed to help get her elected. It had no impact. We won all 7 swing states. But no.
No, honey, I'm not done. Quiet, piggy.
We're thinking about bringing a suit against Powell for incompetence. Because think of it, these aren't outstanding buildings. These are small buildings. He said $4 billion more. It's going to end up costing more than $4 billion. $4 billion. It's the highest price of construction. Again, Democrats, highest price of construction per square foot in the history of the world. There's never been. Gorgeous monuments are built for a much smaller price. So we're thinking about bringing a gross incompetence, what's called gross incompetence lawsuit. It's gross incompetence against Powell. And it was his baby. And the guy's just incompetent. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. He's just a very incompetent man. But we're going to probably bring a lawsuit against him. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
No. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Are you guys tracking with me here? This is a silver bullet. This is to get in between the Treasury and the Federal Reserve, expose the money monopoly for what it is. Guys, this guy is fighting for us on all fronts. And it's so beautiful to be here. And I'm glad you're with me on this journey because this is history in the making. We could not have prayed for a better president. And we got our prayers answered when he survived in Butler. We came so close that day, guys. So close. God had other plans. Other plans. Here's that moment again. I think this photo would really go down in history as one of the most, I don't know what do you call this moment? I mean, the President of the United States confronting the Federal Reserve chair at their own renovation project, calling him out for cost overruns, and then just a few months later announcing a massive incompetence lawsuit against him. President Trump says he should resign.
You asked Jay Powell to resign from the board entirely?
Be a favor to the nation. But he's come close. I mean, we're getting pretty close. I would fire him. I'd love to fire him, but we're so close, you know, maybe I still might.
Yeah, let's go.
Say it.
Are you going to approve a sailing of, you asked Jay Powell?
So, are you going to fire him? You see, he says we're so close. It's because his term is up. It's just around the corner. The question is, how much more damage can he inflict while he's still head of the Federal Reserve? Now, if Powell wanted to keep his job, he'd lower those interest rates. He would play nice, lower the interest rates, and turn this economy on. Instead, he's delaying it. Oh, here's a quarter point. Here you go. Here's a breadcrumb for you, plebs. Here, take this take these scraps from the table of the Federal Reserve. Trump knows he can fire his ass. He could. But he needs to. But his term is almost over. I'm just concerned about what damage can be done in the process. You follow me here? So, the story is not over, but this is why this moment is unprecedented. A gross incompetence lawsuit would drag the Federal Reserve where? Into discovery. Emails, internal projections, decision-making records, who knew what and when. The institution that has operated in the shadows for over a century could be forced into the light. And Trump's not bluffing. He is telegraphing a strike, resignation, removal, replacement, and now legal action. The era of central bank immunity, it may just be ending. And Jerome Powell is about to find out what accountability looks like. Now, here's why this matters to every single American. See, the Federal Reserve is not a government agency. It is a private institution that controls your money. They decide if your savings grow or shrink. They decide if you can afford a home. They decide if your retirement is secure. And for generations, they've faced zero consequences for their failures. Powell admitted they just flooded the system with printed money. Inflation exploded. The middle class was gutted. And the Fed's response was to raise rates and crush small businesses while planning a $4 billion renovation. Trump is saying enough. He's challenging a system that politicians from both parties have protected for decades. A lawsuit would be historic. It would expose how the decisions are made. It would finally hold the money printers accountable. My question for you: do you support President Trump filing a gross incompetence lawsuit against Jerome Powell? I certainly hope your answer is yes. Drop it in the comments. And grab some gear at our merch shop. You'll find it linked down below. All right. Okay, M. Mike says, replicate Gary and his voice maybe with the tools. I do have those tools. They are complicated, but I do have access to them. Salty Nationalist, and that's why you see some of the movie trailers I make that feature me in them. It's the same tool system. Salty Nationalist, dropping $5. R.I.P. Adam the Woo, 1974 to 2025. You will be missed. Yeah, I heard that he was 51 years old, passed away, had a million or so subscribers. He would go to amusement parks and abandoned places. I've seen some of his stuff in the past. Yeah, rest in peace, Adam the Woo, a fellow YouTuber in the game here, just no longer with us. It's sad. What's equally sad is that there's still a war going on, but President Trump is slamming the brakes on it. Why? I'm going to tell you why. Because the war profiteers are being exposed. 91 drones. That's how many Ukraine allegedly launched at Vladimir Putin's personal residence. And when President Trump heard the news, his response sent shockwaves throughout Washington. Thank God we did not give Zelensky Tomahawk missiles. You see, that one sentence tells how exactly close we came to something catastrophic. Now, the good news is, tonight, peace talks are accelerating. A high-level working group has been formed, and the war profiteers in Washington are freaking out because Trump is about to shut down their entire business model. Now, here's what's at stake. 25,000 people are dying every single month in this war. Trump said it plainly. He wants it ended because he does not want to see so many people dying. But not everyone in Washington agrees. There's money in that whole operation. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, she's calling out the powerful interests who do not want a peace deal. Her question was direct. How many people in Washington have stock portfolios tied to defense contractors? How many are personally invested in endless war? You see, this is not speculation. This is a sitting member of Congress publicly accusing colleagues of sabotaging peace for profit. Meanwhile, Ukraine allegedly targeting Putin's state residence with a massive drone assault. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov confirmed the attack. All 91 drones, however, were intercepted, but the message was clear. This war is escalating towards leadership itself. And Trump understands that Tomahawk missiles in that scenario would not be aid. They would be a fuse. Now, before we move forward, I do want to speak directly to you, the people who watch this show, who share our work and keep us going every single day. This time of year especially, we reflect on how grateful we are for this entire community. You see, none of this is possible without you, without your encouragement, your comments, your prayers, and your support. If you want to help us keep fighting, keep producing, and keep telling the truth the way only independent media can, we deeply appreciate your support at the link down in the description, nnn.is/give. And if you cannot donate, you can still help in a huge way. All you have to do is share the link to this video with a friend or a family member. Text to someone who needs to hear the truth, because those shares do make a massive difference. We are thankful for you, and we see you, and we could not do this without you. See, President Trump, he's moving very fast. He spent 2.5 hours on the phone with Putin. He described it as very productive. He said that they discussed hard realities, not the weather, not pleasantries, territory, security guarantees, and ending the bloodshed. Then he met with Zelensky at Mar-a-Lago and delivered a warning. You are better off making a deal now. And that was not cruelty. That was honesty about leverage slipping away. Trump announced a working group to hammer out the final details. The names are serious. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, Marco Rubio, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. See, this is not a symbolic working group. This is a pressure team that's assembled to force a resolution. Thank God, President Trump said, we did not give Zelensky Tomahawk missiles. Now, the Warhawks would have loved that. How many arms have we sent into Ukraine? Rearming them, jets, tanks, whatever. The armaments that we have sent there, the money that's been laundered through Ukraine, how much? And they just keep asking for more and more and more and more. And then you have NATO. Oh, we reaffirm our commitment to Ukraine. We reaffirm our commitment to inviting them into the NATO family. I was there. I heard it with my own ears. Angie and I sat there and we listened to it with our own ears, them reaffirm their commitment to how much NATO was going to support Ukraine. Ukraine's not even a member of NATO. Ukraine joining NATO is the red line that pissed off Putin beyond. And he said, hell no, we're not playing that game. He does not want a NATO member nation on his back door. It is the expansionism of NATO that created this whole freaking mess to begin with. And who funds NATO? We do. President Trump, though, he steps into office and goes, wait a second, guys. We're going to rethink this whole operation. You guys better take a couple steps back. First of all, you're not all paying up. Remember last time? Pay up, pay up, pay up. America pays for what, 80, 70, 80% of the NATO budget? It's crazy. All the other nations, they pay nothing. But yet they can have leverage? How does that even work? It's upside down. But then they keep begging for more money, more weapons, blah, blah, blah. So President Trump says, hell no, I'm glad. Thank you. We did not send freaking Tomahawk missiles. Because those drones that Zelensky sent over to Putin's house would have been Tomahawks. And then the whole game would have been shifted. All right? We wouldn't be talking about, what I'm trying to say is, we've been fallout shelters. That's what I'm trying to say. You follow me? Here. Thank God we didn't give him Tomahawk missiles.
Honestly, or therefore you would. I think you could sit outside and have some food. Would you like to have food, or do you consider that a bribe? And therefore you cannot write honestly, or therefore you have to write a bad story. Okay, because if you'd like, would you like something to eat at this time? Yes or no? You can speak.
Yes, sir.
Yes? Okay. Margot,
yes, sir.
Take them outside, tell the chef, serve them a little lunch, okay?
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
That should guarantee good stories, but it won't. They'll only get worse. So go out of their way to make them worse. He gave us a hamburger. We have to make them better.
Alex, thanks. Press.
Okay?
Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
You lead the way. Go outside on the porch.
That was President Trump mocking the media. Why? Because he feeds them at the White House. At least in this case. Go tell the chef to make him some food. Then he'll write a good story about us. Digital Gal, thank God we didn't give Zelensky Tomahawk missiles. The phone call. Peacemaker Luna is calling out the vested interest in DC's warmongers trying to sabotage Trump's peace plan. She says there are many people in Washington that don't want a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine to go through. Why?
It could actually read, Congresswoman, I guess they don't want the president to broker a deal between both sides. They don't think he should be talking to one of those sides. This is typical from the Democrats, but what do you make of them trashing President Trump, the peace president?
Well, you know, if they could actually read, they would see that we're not sending weapons to Russia. And if that was indeed a true argument, you would think that the U.S. government at President Trump's direction would be sending weapons to Moscow. And that's simply not the case. But more to your point, Tommy, if you look historically, I think it was also President Bill Clinton that had a great relationship with Moscow. And to be honest with you, the only reason why Democrats are reverting to this topic is because they're hoping that their voting base is still brainwashed from the 2016 election with Hillary Clinton, which we now know has been debunked. But I want to just point this out, Tommy, that there are many people, not just Democrats in Washington, that don't want this peace deal to go through. And that's because a lot of them have an invested interest into some of these defense contractors, and they're personally invested with their stock portfolio. So you're seeing pushback, but I do have faith, and I've been able to see the internal conversations, and I think that it'll happen.
Congresswoman, I guess they don't want the president to broker a deal between both sides.
They don't want the deal to be brokered. You see, Theo, that is how the war machine operates. While the military buildup continues, people get paid. And how do they get paid? The contracts. Why do they need the contracts? Because there's a war going on. And if you broker peace, then you have no contracts, no money flows. And all those people, Theo, all those people stop getting paid. So it is in the vested interest of those warmongers to keep the war going. They want to keep their bank accounts fat while people die. You see, there's a cost to war. And that cost is human life. When people pull out their weapons, they pull out their tanks, and they drop their bombs, there are real costs. There are fathers that will never go home to their children. There are mothers who will never hug their husbands again. And every single dollar and every single contract funds that bloodshed. And it is why we must always work towards peace. Because humanity is priceless. But there are people who do not care about the cost of humanity. They do not care about the cost of tears. All they care about is themselves and the machine that continues to feed the beast. President Trump is starving the beast by calling for peace because the beast feeds on the bloodshed. The beast relishes in the pain. But through love, compassion, and peace, we can overcome and defeat the beast. That is what is happening here. So when President Trump puts a working group together, it means that we are taking steps in the direction of peace. President Trump, standing with the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, talking about his phone call with Vladimir Putin.
Very thorny, very good talk this morning. I waited till this morning because it was pretty late by the time we finished, like 2:30 in Russia, 2:30 in the morning. And we had a very good talk. We spoke at 8 o'clock in the morning our time. And it was a very productive talk. I mean, we have a few very thorny issues, as you can imagine. He knows about thorny issues probably better than anybody in the world, but it's working out. We have a couple of issues that we're going to get resolved, hopefully, and if we get them resolved, you're going to have peace. You're going to have Ukraine. They're losing 26,000 soldiers a month. Can you believe it? A month, 26,000 young, beautiful soldiers, and plus some people in Kiev, and relatively small, but a lot, still people, and it's a lot of people. But 26,000 soldiers were killed last month. Yeah.
26,000 soldiers killed in 1 month. 26,000 funerals. 26,000 families who will never hug their loved one again. That is the cost of this war. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Monday that Ukraine tried to attack Vladimir Putin's residence. Ukraine attacked on December 28th and 29th Putin's state residence with 91 long-range drones, which were all destroyed by Russian air defenses. Zelensky, however, denying the attack. So who do you believe? We're at war, so wouldn't that be a natural action, though, if they're trying to go on the offensive? To go after the head of the snake of their enemy, Vladimir Putin? Or is this just a lie that Putin is making up as misinformation to redirect? See, that's where you have to use your gut. You have to use your instincts. You have to read between the lines.
The Russian foreign minister has said Ukraine had tried to attack President Putin's residence in the Novgorod region. That's the big piece of breaking news coming in. In fact, the Russian foreign minister warns that now Moscow's negotiating position would change. Lavrov has said that on December 28 to 29, Ukraine had attacked the Russian president's state residence in the Novgorod region with 91 long-range drones. Lavrov was quoted as saying such reckless actions will not go unanswered. Now, it was not immediately clear if Putin was in the residence at that time. In fact, the president of Ukraine said the accusation was a lie, adding that Moscow was preparing the ground to strike government buildings in Kiev. Meanwhile, Putin's palace in Novgorod region, remember, is his state residence. It's around 400 kilometers from the capital, Moscow. And Ukraine has been launching regular drone strikes deep inside Russian territory. We've been telling you about this. The Russian foreign minister.
So the Russian foreign minister declaring it. Here is President Trump with Zelensky delivering remarks at Mar-a-Lago. And here is Zelensky.
A lot of points. We had a...
Well, here's Trump and then Zelensky.
Terrific meeting. We discussed a lot of things. As you know, I had an excellent phone call with President Putin that lasted for over 2 hours. We discussed a lot of points, and I do think we're getting a lot closer, maybe very close. The President and I just spoke to the European leaders. They were President Emmanuel Macron of France, President Alexander Stubb of the Republic of Finland, President Karol Nawrocki of the Republic of Poland, Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store of the Kingdom of Norway, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni of the Italian Republic, Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom of Britain and Northern Ireland, Chancellor Friedrich Merz, the Federal Republic of Germany, Secretary General Mark Rutte, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, President Ursula von der Leyen of the European Commission. We spoke to all of those great leaders. They're all great leaders. And we had a great talk with them after we were completed. We thought it was appropriate to speak with them. And our meeting was excellent. We covered, somebody would say 95%. I don't know what percent, but we have made a lot of progress on ending that war, which is really certainly the most deadly war since World War II, probably the biggest war since World War II. We had a...
So that was President Trump. There was no remarks from Zelensky there. Here's more remarks from the president.
Yeah.
The U.S. Ukraine security guarantees, what number are we at right now?
Well, I think look, you can say 95%, but I don't like to say percentages. I just think we're doing very well. We could be very close. There are one or two very thorny issues, very tough issues, but I think we're doing very well. We made a lot of progress today, but really we've made it over the last month. This is not a one-day process deal. This is very complicated stuff, but I think when the president says 95, I think, could be close to 95%. Yeah.
The U.S.
95. Here is more. Everybody wants the war ended.
Of the people probably have to get their plan approved by Parliament or by referendum of the people. You would think that they want, I know they had a poll that it's 91% in favor of ending this war, so they want to end it like everybody wants. Russia wants it ended, everybody wants it ended, and we want it ended. I want it ended because I don't want to see so many people dying. We're losing, massive numbers of people, the biggest by far since World War II. So we want to see it ended, absolutely. Probably have to get their plan approved by Parliament or by referendum of the people. You would think.
Let's keep going here. President Trump talking about the working group.
The creation of some, in the readout from Moscow, they talked about the creation of some working groups that would be set. Can you tell us about what those working groups would entail? And also, if you wouldn't mind, what is the message that you will give to Putin when you speak to him after your meeting?
So the working group is going to be composed of Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, General Raisin Kane, Marco Rubio, and a few other people that we're going to be putting onto it. I think Pete Hegseth should be in that working group. He knows the territory very well. He's been fantastic at what he's doing. And they may add one or two people. And likewise, Ukraine's going to have some very good people that were at lunch today that enjoyed the lunch today a lot, more than they thought, right? But do you want to say who may be on your working group?
Yeah, we now, as I said, that we work with Stephen Jarrett. We worked and worked our Rustem Umerov and also Deputy Minister Gislitz and also General Ignatov, and they will continue work in this group. And of course, if we will go further, and I hope that really we will have decisions in January, as I said, about all these documents, 6 documents, and of course, we will continue work on this, so they know what to do. Yes.
And that working group, by the way, importantly, will also then be working with Russia. Okay? Because to work with ourselves doesn't really solve much of a problem. So they'll be working with Russia.
In the readout from Moscow, they talked about the creation of some working groups.
So the working groups being established. President Trump, we're closer than, by far closer than we ever were before between both parties. Here's more on his call with Putin.
I saw a very interesting President Putin today. I mean, he wants to see it happen. He wants to see it. He told me very strongly. I believe him. Don't forget, we went through the Russia hoax together. And he'd call me, I'd call him, I'd say, can you believe the stuff that they're making up? And it turned out we were right. They made it all up. And despite that, we didn't get into wars and we didn't get into problems, but we weren't able to trade very much or any of that, which was a shame because, you know, a lot of success could have been had by trading with Russia. They have great land, great minerals and other things, and we have things that they want very badly. But the Russia hoax, which was a terrible, made-up, fictional thing by Crooked Hillary and by Adam Shifty Schiff and bad people, sick people. They made it up. It was all a made-up hoax. But it kept us really from dealing with Russia, kept Russia dealing, you know, from dealing with us. So, but despite that, we got along. And I don't know, I think we're going to get there. I know him very well. I think we're going to get there.
Discuss any time, location, meeting place?
Yeah, we're discussing a lot of things. No, look, I was on the phone with him for almost, I guess, 2.5 hours. They're just telling me now. It's a long time. We discussed a lot of things. We didn't talk about the weather. We weren't talking about what a beautiful day it is in Palm Beach, Florida. I saw a very...
So, Trump says the world will know in a few weeks whether the deal gets done. One way or the other. You see, that's not posturing. That is a deadline imposed by casualties, battlefield realities, and the risk of catastrophic escalation. Drone strikes on presidential residence, calls for Tomahawk missiles, members of Congress profiting from war. This is the crossroads. Peace negotiations on one side, World War III on the other. And Trump is the only one trying to slam the brakes before it's too late. So here's why every American should care about what is happening right now between Washington, Moscow, and Kyiv. It's not about foreign policy. It's about whether your sons and daughters get sent to fight a war that should have ended years ago. The people pushing escalation are not the ones who will bleed. They sit in offices with stock portfolios tied to Raytheon and Lockheed Martin. They profit when the bombs fall, and they lose money when peace breaks out. Trump is the first president in generations to openly challenge the war machine. He is thanking God that we did not hand over missiles capable of striking Kremlin. He's working the phones with Putin and Zelensky. He's assembling a team to get this done. And the establishment hates it because peace is bad for business. So my question for you, do you support Trump's efforts to end the war in Ukraine before it spirals into a global conflict? Yes or no? Which side are you on? Are you on the side of peace or the side of war? Sound off in the comments and support the show at our merch shop, linked in the description. All right. Moving right along. 1 second here. Okay. Let's see. Let's keep going here. No more super chats. Where are we with super chats, by the way? Let me check on that. $38. Hey, what up? Merry Christmas. Thank you guys for your support of this show. And we are about to get into some of the stuff that is now bubbling back to the surface. Interesting timing. But it's information that needs to be discussed because there was a point in time when we couldn't talk about these things. You couldn't question the election. They would silence you. They would shut you down, terminate you, cancel you. But Hillary Clinton and her crew, they could talk about it all day long. But you go ahead and bring it up. Strike. And look at that. We just got a massive, looks like a Rumble rant. Just came through. Holy cow, $100 from Zertankman. Zankshman? I don't know how you say it, but my goodness, thank you. Happy New Year, Brother Gary. God bless you for that donation. That Rumble rant just came through. Holy cow. We're now at $148 because Prism 63 just gave us $10. Sunglasses perpetually fall into a video game controller's proud face. Must be a super sticker. Thank you for that, Prism 63. So we're now at $148 in Super Chats and Rumble Rants tonight. That was awesome. All right. Brian, rock it and roll. Let's see. Okay. I need to check something real quick one more time before we move. Let's see. Where is this thing here? Okay. All right. Let's see. Is this it? That's what I'm looking for. Okay. Brian, after the show, I want to do a quick test with you with some formatting stuff. So keep everything running. Can you please confirm that? Okay. President Trump just did something Washington hoped he would never do again. He went back to 2020. He started sharing the Fulton County surveillance footage of Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. His message was 4 words that terrify the establishment. Fraud. What is that word? Vitiates? Fraud? I don't even know. Dude, I am looking that one up. And we're going to have to start this over. Hang on, Brian. V-I-T-I-A-T. What does that mean? Spoil or impair the quality or efficiency. Who writes this stuff? How do you say it? Let's see how it sounds.
Vitiate.
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 All right, Gary's learning how to speak today.
Vitiate.
Vitiate. All right, I think I can say it. Vitiate. Fraud vitiates everything. All right. Holy cow. Let's do another take on that, Brian. What do you say? Vitiate. Vitiate. That's the word. All right. Take 2, Brian. President Trump just did something Washington hoped he would never do again. He went back to 2020. He started resharing the Fulton County surveillance footage of Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. His message was 4 words that terrified the establishment. Fraud vitiates everything. That is a legal principle. It means if the process was corrupted, the outcome is void. And tonight, with whistleblowers surfacing, evidence piling up, and a statute of limitations about to expire, the fight over 2020 is not over. It is only just reigniting. Now, here's what's at stake. See, this is not about relitigating the past. It's about whether accountability ever comes. A United States Postal Service whistleblower has described an alleged operation to backdate mail-in ballots in Michigan after Election Day. The claims trace back to Traverse City, where an insider reportedly told investigators that postal procedures were violated under pressure. In Nevada, Senator Lankford documented over 42,000 people who allegedly voted more than once, over 1,500 dead voters, and over 19,000 who didn't even live in the state. In Detroit, footage and testimony keep surfacing. And now a whistleblower claims the FBI asked intelligence agencies to destroy evidence of Chinese election interference. Piece by piece, the narrative that there was nothing to see is fracturing. And the media that told you to stop asking questions may have been part of the cover. Now, as this reckoning unfolds, one thing is clear. You cannot depend on the system to protect you. My Patriot Supply is running their Buy One, Gift Two Christmas special right now. When you buy one emergency food kit, you get 2 more absolutely free. A 4-week supply for yourself, plus 2 one-week kits to give away as New Year's gifts. See, these days it just makes sense to have emergency food stored away. When institutions fail and trust collapses, your family still needs security. And with this deal, you're not just getting prepared, you're giving meaningful gifts to friends or family. And they're free. So get prepared before the next crisis hits and head to preparewithgary.com. This holiday offer will not last. preparewithgary.com. And now, did you know January 6th is back in the headlines? The man who accused of planting the pipe bombs near party headquarters has now officially confessed. Court filings say he was driven by contempt for the entire political system, not a plot to help one side. Now, here's why the detail matters, because it undercuts years of narrative. Meanwhile, the statute of limitations on the January 6th committee's actions expires in just days. Critics are warning that if charges are not filed against committee members for destroying evidence, withholding exculpatory material, and conducting what many call a political persecution, accountability will never come. Lara Logan called them the real insurrectionists, and the clock is running out. Lara Logan and more. President Trump posting over the weekend, video after video, reigniting the conversation in this entire discussion. Looking for the Lara Logan clip for you right now. I know it must be here. Well, here. I mean, this is video. You guys have seen this. See, this was verboten. You could not share this video. You could not talk about this video. Video of ballots being dumped in the middle of the night. Security footage. You're still interested in fraud? Proof of the fraud of the 2020 election in Detroit, Michigan. Proof of what happened. This is what the Democrats deny happening. Pallets of votes being ushered in. Here it is. You know who else was in on the overthrow of 2020? 60 Minutes, the media. Real Roberts says, now arrest this bitch. Arrest them all for the crimes of fraud, election interference, racketeering, campaign finance violations, and conspiracy for the overthrow of the United States government on November 3rd, 2020. Remember this?
You know, this is 60 Minutes. And we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
We can't put on things we can't verify.
Leslie.
You know what you told me a long time ago when I asked why you keep saying fake in the media?
Yeah.
You said to me, I say that because I need to discredit you so that when you say negative things about me, no one will believe you.
I don't have to discredit you.
But that's what you told me.
You've discredited yourself.
You told me that.
Leslie, you've discredited yourself. When you say that you're not going to cover Biden, you're going to ask him what flavor ice cream he has, okay? Instead of why did Hunter get $3.5 million from Moscow? Instead of why is an energy company paying your son $183,000 a month or whatever they're paying him, and he has no experience in energy? You know, You discredit yourself. I don't have to discredit you.
So this story about Hunter and his laptop, some repair shop found it. The source is Steve Bannon and Rudy Giuliani.
I don't know anything about that. I just know it's a laptop, and they haven't.
And you're making this one of the hottest, most important issues in the rallies.
It's a very important issue to find out whether or not a man's corrupt who's running for president, who's accepted money from China and from Ukraine and from Russia.
All these
I think
things
that's
have
an
been
important issue.
investigated and
It's incredible the way you can try and say this and sit there and look me in the eye and say it. He accepted money, his family, from Russia, from Ukraine, from China, and from other places. His brother, who didn't have experience.
We don't need to rehash all that. You guys all know the cover-up's there. This man, John Strand, sentenced to 3 years in prison for peacefully protesting election fraud. He says, I could have taken a plea, I could have compromised, I could have given up, but I didn't, because the truth matters.
26 is, yes, well, it was grossly wrong. The Supreme Court, I was vindicated by the Supreme Court ruling in the Fisher case. And we knew this, of course, from the beginning. They call it obstruction of justice or obstruction of an official proceeding. But I was charged specifically with 18 U.S. Code 1512 C2. The title of 1512, the specific statute that I was charged with, is tampering with a witness, victim, or informant. Check that again. Tampering with a witness, victim, or informant. How does that apply to me being present at a political protest? Obviously, it does not apply whatsoever. So not only was I not guilty of breaking any laws, but the 20-year felony they used to destroy my life was wildly ungermane, disconnected, and weaponized and misused in a grossly dishonest and malicious way to destroy our lives, to demonize the Trump supporters and the MAGA movement, and to really create this incredible fracture in our nation. My book is called Patriot Plea, The J6 Journey of a Political Prisoner in the Divided States of America. And Bill, we're at a really critical point. I keep telling people that 2026 is our generation's 1776.
Yeah,
what do I
absolutely.
mean by that? Well, we all know that this is a very important moment, but it's more than just important. I really think it's historic and it's existential. Like you said, President Trump is a fighter. He's outside of the system trying to dismantle the deep state, but he can't do it alone. No one man can. Our system is designed to decentralize power. That's the beauty of it, to prevent tyranny. So the most amount of power, the most important branch of government is Article 1, the first article established in our U.S. Constitution, and that's Congress. But that's 435 individuals. So we need a higher percentage, at least, of congressmen who are strong, who are moral, ethical, who are independent, and who are brave and courageous and willing to do what's right and what is necessary. And so few people are willing to do that these days. I've proven that I'll do it. I will definitely do it again. And that is my pledge and my promise to the American people.
Folks, this is why I'm endorsing John Strand. I mean, listen to the words coming out of this man's mouth. I mean, this is exactly what we need in our Congress. Okay.
That guy's got my vote. Got my vote for sure. The 2020 election is not over. President Trump went on one of his Truth Social posting marathons, started sharing infamous videos of Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shay Moss clearly cheating in Fulton County, Georgia, says Real AF Patriot.
2020 election. A poll worker named Ruby Freeman running the same stack of ballots through the counting machines multiple times. Ironically, Ruby Freeman was later given the Presidential Citizens Medal by Joe Biden for her work during the 2020 election. A poll worker named Ruby Freeman.
Ruby Freeman getting an award. UPS whistleblower exposes operation to backdate mail-in ballots in Michigan for the 2020 election. Project Veritas spoke to an insider from the Barlow branch of the Traverse City Post Office who had serious allegations on voter fraud allegations. Check this out.
Going mail in general.
Tell us where you work.
I work in the Traverse City Post Office, more specifically the Barlow branch.
Your boss told you and your colleagues something that shocked you this morning. What was it?
We were issued a directive this morning to collect any ballots we find in mailboxes, collection boxes, just outgoing mail in general, separate them at the end of the day so that they could hand stamp them with the previous day's date. Today is November 4th, for clarification.
Who is your boss, and what is his title?
Jonathan would be a direct supervisor, yes. As of right now, he is the opening supervisor for the Barlow branch post office. So and this is anecdotal, carrier down in another office said they watched the postmaster doing it. If it were just a typical day, it would be clerks doing it up at the distribution center.
So 8 p.m. election day, November 3rd. The Court of Appeals ruled ballots have to be received by that time. And what were you told?
To separate them today so they could mark them with yesterday's date and send them through the express system to wherever they needed to go.
This appears to be an attempt to circumvent Michigan law and allow late votes. And you said there was a hamper where letter carriers were supposed to leave their ballots. Where are the ballots now?
They were putting them into express bags to go to the distribution center. In regards to a hamper, there was a standard hamper that all letter mail is supposed to go to, and they had a tub next to it that we were supposed to put any ballots collected today into.
Yes. What made you come forward?
That's sketchy. I don't like sketchy. It screams corruption. Also, knowing the post office's leanings politically, it didn't seem quite right.
What is your message to other postal workers who see things like this?
Report it. How are we supposed to have any integrity in this country if we are just going to let things slide based on a scaling issue?
Are you afraid of retaliation against you?
I've had whistleblower policies backfire on me in the past, so yes.
We'll have to reach out to Jonathan Clark for comment. Hey, is this Jonathan?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a reporter with Project Veritas, James O'Keefe here, and I have information that you guys have been stamping ballots with the previous date, November 3rd. He just hung up the phone on me. He just hung up the phone on me. Tell us where you work.
I work in the Traverse City Post Office, more specifically the Barlow branch.
Your boss told you and your colleagues something that shocked you this morning. What was it?
Amazing. Amazing that this is still happening. FBI asked intelligence agencies to destroy intel on alleged China plot to aid Biden in the 2020 election. Another layer of election fraud exposed. I remember hearing about this, that they were shipping in ballots from China. The ballots were being printed in China, shipped in on jets, sent to, remember there was a jet we were chasing in Arizona in the middle of the night that supposedly had offloaded an entire pallets of ballots. Let's listen to how John Solomon breaks this down.
That China 2020 FBI intel memo warning that China might have been sending fake driver's licenses in to create fake mail-in ballots to help Joe Biden win. There's a busting headline in here. When the FBI called this back, so they have this intel, it's corroborated by licenses that are intercepted by Customs and Border Protection in Chicago, but they call it back anyways and decide we're just not going to investigate this because this would look good for Trump, bad for Biden. They ask all intelligence agencies to destroy the intelligence report that the FBI actually sent them. As a Federal Records Act, you're not supposed to do that. But they wanted it destroyed. Why? Because they probably didn't want it to leak out before the election that China preferred Joe Biden over Donald Trump. 60 Minutes aired a piece with the head of the Homeland Security Cybersecurity Division saying there were no foreign intrusions in the 2020 election. It was a perfectly clean election, he said. I think it was Chris Krebs was his name. We now know that to have been a false proclamation. First, we know a year later in 21, a bunch of Iranians were indicted in Manhattan on charges that they interfered in the election and hacked into a state database to obtain voter IDs and use them in a mal-influence operation against the American election.
Well, we did subpoena Mike Frontera, Dominion's lawyer, but they found a way to not let us have our witnesses. What Jenna did, though, that since at least June, those BIOS passwords, 670 of them, from 63 counties out of the 64 counties in Colorado, have been on the public website for the Secretary of State, which means they were out there for anybody to grab. She should be locked up, and they should throw away the key and let me loose.
Yeah, we need a prisoner swap.
Yeah, for sure.
So you think that this election in Colorado was definitely compromised because of the leaked passwords?
Oh, always. I mean, in Mesa County, They were finding fraudulent ballots. They were finding the same person was signing the ballot envelopes, and they brushed it off like it was nothing. And as a matter of fact, what Jenna Griswold did with the passwords, she knew while I was going through the trial.
And now she's in jail for exposing the fraud. This is what they do to people who do their job to protect the election. Let's keep going here. Here's Elon Musk, Doge designer, posting this. There's a massive incentive on the left to import voters.
There's a massive. I think when you look at the behavior of organizations or people, you have to say, what is the incentive for these organizations? And frankly, there's a massive incentive on the left to import voters. So if they can't convince their nation to vote for them, they're going to import people from other nations to vote for them. This is a massive factor. And frankly, it's a strategy that will succeed if it is not stopped. Thus far, it is succeeding. And you see strong movements to allow people who are not from Britain to vote in Britain, to allow people who are not from France or elsewhere to vote in those countries, and thus depriving the citizens of their democratic power. It's really a voter importation thing, and if they're allowed to succeed, if this is allowed to continue, they will succeed in importing voters, swaying the elections, and taking your vote away from you. That is 100% what is happening.
Can't argue with that. This is what we've suspected forever. Let's keep going here because we got to get to this. Federal prosecutors told a judge that the man suspected of planting pipe bombs near the Republican National Committee and Democrat National Committee headquarters confessed to the crime in an affidavit that was filed over the weekend. Suspect confesses in the court filing. Here is NTD News Today reporting.
Court papers. And a man charged with planting 2 pipe bombs in Washington, D.C. the night before January 6th in 2021, he's confessed. That's according to court papers released yesterday. Brian J. Cole Jr. told authorities he felt obligated to, quote, speak up after he started to suspect the 2020 election had been, quote, tampered with. Cole was arrested this month. According to the government's court filing, he initially denied placing the bombs outside the Republican and Democratic Party headquarters ahead of the U.S. Capitol, but then investigators showed him a surveillance image of what they said was him in a hooded sweatshirt carrying a backpack on the route the bomber took. After that, according to the filing, he confessed.
Do you believe it? Or do you believe it was that Capitol police officer that the allegations were made a couple weeks back? Daily Clout pipe bomber. Pipe bomb suspect claims anger at both parties, not a plot. Newly charged suspect says the pipe bombs planted outside both party headquarters were fueled by contempt for the political system itself, not an effort to derail January 6th. Suspect says he acted to speak up for election deniers. What does that even mean? Mother Jones, of course, is the source. J6 pipe bomb suspect confesses, prosecutors say, as defense scrutinizes the case. Something just snapped. January 6 pipe bomb suspect Brian Cole's confession revealed in the court documents. Investigative reporter Steve Baker that broke the J6 pipe bomb story is now fighting for his life with acute heart failure. 2 days after telling friends he was worried about his safety. What the hell? The guy that broke the pipe bomb story? The story we presented for you, Baker's testimony, is now fighting for his life? Oh, you got to be kidding me.
And second, and we're running a little bit late here on the program, so I appreciate your patience. If you're watching live and if you're listening in the replay, you didn't know any better, but we're about 20 minutes late. And the fact of the matter is I woke up this morning and had a message from about 4 a.m. local time, my time, That was from my friend out on the East Coast, my buddy Steve Baker, who's been investigating the pipe bomber case and trying to get to the truth about January 6th, which we do believe was a real and it was a real serious conspiracy. And there were a lot of people in play in various different parts of it. And he's now in the hospital. He called me on Friday afternoon. I don't even know if he wants me saying this, but I'm saying it anyway because this is the deal. He called me on Friday. He was worried about his own safety, said he was heading home to his family, and he got some disconcerting news, which I won't be real specific about for now. But Steve knows things. Steve has information that is going to has rattled people that have been trying to keep a story quiet for the last 5 years. The FBI has been complicit in covering it up. The people that are so loved at the top of the FBI are complicit in covering this thing up. They've been aggressive and actively going out there to silence voices, including mine, including Steve Baker's, including Steve Friend's. And I want you to consider something. They hired and fired my friends specifically because we think we interviewed in a joint interview, the American Radical podcast and the Kyle Seraphin Show joint interview with Joe Hanneman, talking about the inability of the federal government to go and try to pin this all on a training exercise after all these years, and then coming out with a real suspect who's now worked for the second federal agency, now moved into the intelligence community. If you think this stuff is not related, that's on you. That's fine. I don't believe in coincidences. I don't think they happen. Certainly not at this. I don't think my friend calls me up and says that he's concerned about safety and then turns around and a day and a half later, 2 days later, is in the hospital for something that he didn't have a pre-existing condition that has never been diagnosed. It's never come up in his 60s. So pray for Steve Baker, please. And pray for our nation right now. Because while people are getting ready to celebrate second and we're running a little bit late.
Pray for our nation, indeed. We're moving into 2026. Thank God we, though, have somebody at the helm of this nation who is righting the ship. J6 Jessica Watkins catches up with Cowboy Logic. I think it was I was inside for a total of 23 minutes. Her experiences at J6 Capital.
You're an emergency.
I think I was inside for a total of 23 minutes. Right. Not a lot. And in the time I was there, I was rescuing people and stopping vandalism. And
but that's what you do. You're an emergency,
yes,
EMT person. That's why the Oath Keepers always love to have you around.
Well, yeah, and that's the role you played.
Yeah.
That's the role you played, I think, Louisville and also in D.C. And it wasn't a playing role, okay? She wasn't playing that part. That's what she does.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
Yeah, I had gone to 14 rallies prior to January 6th. Columbus, Ohio. I ended up rescuing like a dozen Black Lives Matter people that day because the police munitions had injured people who were just standing there with signs or whatever. And I mean, of course I'm going to help. I mean, you got people who are hurt. I went to another rally. It was one of the Stop the Steal rallies in Columbus, Ohio, and rescued a toddler. Because toddler ran out into traffic and there was cars zipping, there's a whole thing. So yeah, this is what we do. We go to rallies and whatever. If it turns into a riot, people we jump in and we help them. I think I was inside for a total of 23 minutes.
So here's the reality Washington does not want you to understand. The same media that buried the Hunter Biden laptop told you 2020 was the most secure election in history. The same institution that spied on a sitting president told you to trust the process. And now, with whistleblowers surfacing, evidence emerging, pipe bomber confession muddying the narrative, they want you to move on. Trump is refusing. Why? Because fraud corrupts everything. It's not a slogan. It's a legal doctrine. And if it applies, nothing that followed was legitimate. So here's why this matters to every American who believes in free and fair elections. You were told to shut up. You were told the evidence didn't exist. You were told that asking questions made you a threat to democracy. But the questions never went away. Whistleblowers kept coming forward, footage kept surfacing, and now a president is openly declaring that fraud corrupts everything. That means that the foundation was rotten, the entire structure is void. The January 6th committee may escape accountability in days if no action is taken. The media may never answer for their role in suppressing evidence, but the American people have not forgotten, and neither has President Trump. You see, this is not about overturning anything. This is about the truth. So do you believe that there should be a full independent investigation in the 2020 election before the statute of limitations expires, or should we just move on? You tell me. Drop your answer in the comments and support independent media at our merch shop. It's linked in the description. All right, guys. What a show. You betcha. Love caramelized onions, huh? All right. Onions and garlic. Dude, if there's one thing I love, it is putting garlic powder and onion powder on burgers and steaks. That's like my thing. Here's a little secret. This is a little Frenchy macaroni and cheese secret. I haven't really introduced the kids to it yet. I don't know how they take to it, but see, I really like to salt the water. That's my thing. You got to salt the water so that the pasta takes on that nice, gets a nice salty flavor. But if you use garlic salt, you've changed the entire game. Because now you've got that garlicky flavor baked right into the pasta as it's boiling in the water. And if you get a chance, look for Big Daddy Mac powder. You'll find it on Amazon. I'm not getting paid for this. So you get your, you get your cheese powder, you get your pasta, you get your butter, right? But you got to get the macaroni out of the bowl. That's when you put the butter and the milk in. Use twice as much as they ask you for the butter, a little bit extra milk, put that powder in, and then the powder from the pack, you know what I'm talking about. And then you take an equal amount that's in that pouch from the Big Daddy Mac jar, put that into the to the pan. Mix it all up so it's nice and it takes a nice consistency. Everything is nice and easily dissolved. Maybe add a little bit more milk if you need to. Then, and only then, do you put the pasta back into the bowl, into the pan, and you mix it. Because that will ensure coverage over all of the pasta. See, if you do it backwards, if you just throw the powder in on top of the pasta and then the butter on top and then the milk, then you're going to get clumping. And the consistency of your cheese sauce in your macaroni is just, you're going to be eating into big, chunky, powdery bites. And who wants that? You want to have that nice, smooth texture of that cheese sauce. So there's a free little recipe from me to you. Big Daddy Mac. Look it up on Amazon. It's like a big jar. Your favorite macaroni and cheese box. Double the butter. Garlic salt in the water. You can always add some more later if you want on the actual pasta. And then you got to get that sauce right. It's always about the sauce. Right? Am I right? Oh, what's up, Debbie? Dropping $19.99. I think I'm going to go buy some mac and cheese. Well, I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. So that's where we're at tonight, America. Think about what we have covered. In Minnesota, the biggest taxpayer heist in American history is being exposed in real time. Billions stolen through fake daycare centers with no children. Whistleblowers ignored for 12 years, convicted fraudsters with direct ties to the governor's office. The only reason any of this came to light is because one citizen journalist did what billion-dollar newsrooms refused to do. He walked in the door and he asked questions, and they called the cops on him. Then we have a president preparing to sue the Federal Reserve chair for gross incompetence. Jerome Powell admitted they flooded the system with printed money. They crushed your savings. They made housing unaffordable. And while you struggled, they budgeted $4 billion in their money they printed for renovations. You see, Trump's done waiting. A lawsuit is coming, and a replacement is coming, and the untouchable central bank is about to learn what accountability finally feels like after over a century of unaccountability. On the world stage, we came closer to catastrophe than most people even realize. 91 drones allegedly launched at Putin's personal residence, and Trump's reaction said everything. Thank God we did not give Zelensky Tomahawk missiles. He's working the phones. He's building a peace team. He's pushing for a deal while the war profiteers in Washington try to sabotage it because endless war pays their mortgages. And 2020 is not going away. Trump's resharing the footage, whistleblowers are surfacing, the pipe bomb are confessing, and the statute of limitations on the January 6th committee expires in days. If accountability doesn't come now, it never will. So here's the thread that ties it all together. 36 years ago today, on December 29th, 1989, a dissident playwright named Václav Havel was elected the president of Czechoslovakia. The communist regime had called him a criminal. The state media said he was dangerous. But Havel and the citizen dissidents who stood with him did what the system never expected. They told the truth. They exposed the corruption. They shattered the propaganda. And the whole rotten structure collapsed. They called it the Velvet Revolution. And what you're watching tonight is the same fight on American soil. Citizen journalists doing the work legacy media refuses to do. A president challenging institutions that have never faced consequences, and an establishment scrambling to contain damage it can no longer hide. The receipts are out, the footage is public, and the American people are not looking away. So if this show brought you some value tonight, please tell a friend. Share this broadcast. Check out our merch shop, linked in the description. And to everybody who sent in Super Chats and Rumble Rants tonight, thank you. You keep the show on the air, you keep independent media alive, and you remind us every single night why this fight matters. I'm Gary Franchi. Thank you for joining the Raw Feed, and we'll see you on the next show.